for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Mia Colson, and I am the Grants Manager at the National Association of Regional Councils. If you have any technical questions during the webinar, please feel free to reach out to me at mia@narc.org. It's listed at the bottom of the screen that you see now. I'm pleased to be joined today by Larry Wiseman and Courtney Kemmel from Virginia Tech's Center for Leadership and Global Sustainability. Over the past year and a half, we've worked closely with Virginia Tech to develop this website, and we're very excited to introduce you to the Green Infrastructure and Forestry Toolkit website, or GIFT. We're going to begin today's presentation with a quick introduction to the website and then provide a tutorial on how you can use the website to learn more about green infrastructure and urban forestry tools and best practices. We will have time at the end for questions, but if you have questions during the presentation, feel free to submit them using the question box on your control panel. A PDF of the presentation will be made available during the webinar. So with that, let's get started. I'll turn it over to Larry Wiseman.
Thanks, Courtney.
There's typically about a 2 to 5 second delay once the slides have changed. It's changing.
This is lost. Well, okay, thanks, Courtney. Sorry, we're struggling with slow internet connection. Not clear what's happening, but please be patient with us as we walk through this. We've been working, I think, for near 18 months to put this together. Sounds like a long time, but in fact, I think you'll agree after you take a look at it, after you take a brief tour, that we actually did it pretty quickly. So a little bit of patience right now with our slow internet connection would be much appreciated. It takes a village, or so they say. This took a great big village to put together. Some of the folks who participated in developing this are listed on the slide that you're looking at. Courtney Kemmel and I, Larry Wiseman, are affiliated with the Virginia Tech Center for Leadership and Global Sustainability, and we worked with a team of consultants, designers, software engineers, and architects to help NARC put this together. We started by asking ourselves, why this site? Why should we put together a site that provided a process to sort of sift through the resources available to professionals interested in urban forestry and green infrastructure? And I think the answer is pretty simple. If you type urban forestry into Google, you get about 8 million, 9 million results. That's as of yesterday. Tomorrow it might be 9 million, and if you type in green infrastructure, you get close to 100 million results. So a person who's not familiar with the field could easily get discouraged in trying to wade or wind their way through the swamp of information that's out there, looking for the nuggets that can truly help them move forward. So we began with the assumption that the community needed an authoritative guide to the process of planning for urban forestry and green infrastructure. That guide should include a curated, and I emphasize curated because not everything out there among the 100 million or so resources are accurate, up-to-date, or even useful for the community of practice. So all of the resources on this site have been reviewed for relevance and quality. Third, the topic really needs to be explored systematically. You can enter your exploration of it at many different points, but you need, in many cases, some guideposts to help you move from the general to the specific and to get the information from useful resources that apply to your issue or problem. And finally, we didn't want to write another guide. We wanted to find a way to pull together the relevant resources that are useful for the community of practice without reinventing or rewriting what exists. That's a common issue and one that we wanted to avoid. So a brief word about the structure. What you're going to see online when Courtney takes you on your tour will look relatively clean, relatively simple. Behind that screen, that user interface, is a very complex content management system, complex in its function, not in its programming, that allows for continuous updating and improvement such that NARC or others will have the opportunity to continue to review research as it comes in. We can incorporate user input as we get it, and we've laid a framework for adding advanced analytics that will help us identify what sort of information is most useful to the community of practice. The site embodies 2 navigation schemes and a key-coded set of approximately 130 plus sources and resources. The 2 main navigation schemes are brief introductions to key topics, and then a comprehensive guide to key steps in the planning process for green infrastructure and urban forestry, following and adapting with permission from the American Planning Association's publications on green infrastructure and urban forestry planning. And now I'm going to turn to Courtney.
Great. Thank you, Larry. Just transfer this over to Courtney's screen so she can give the tour. Take it away, Courtney. Courtney, you still may be muted on your end.
Can you hear me on?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I have to apologize. I'm actually in Atlanta, and a thunderstorm just started. So if you hear a dog barking, that's out of my control, unfortunately. But yes, I just wanted to take you through and show you a little bit behind the scenes about what's going on with this website and how it's organized. And the way I'm going to do that is to take you through a few different use cases where we, as part of the process for organizing these tools and these plethora of resources out there, one of the questions that we had to ask ourselves was who's using this? And the answer is there's a lot of different types of people working in a lot of different roles that are using this information. And that sort of informed the categories that we've developed. And we should say that, on the back end of this whole system, there's a number of other categories that we've toyed with and we can deploy at any point when we have better input as to what's useful and not. But, as Larry said, these 3 different navigational resources for getting started in the planning process are based on essentially topics that you would useful plan, support for, and design and implement and sustain your green infrastructure plan. And I should say a big part of this, sort of implicit in the name or explicit in the name, is that we're talking about green infrastructure with an urban forestry core, so that it is very explicitly including urban forestry in this process. So yes, just organized by topic, and then the planning process is the result of a survey actually that we did with a number of different green infrastructure professionals around the country to determine what seems to be the effective planning process for doing the same thing, for planning, gaining support for, designing, implementing, and sustaining green infrastructure. So let's say, for example, I run a community association, and I want to make sure that green infrastructure is part of the decision making, the list of decision options as as my city or as my community is taking on these challenges of, whether it's stormwater management or it's, some of these other challenges that can be addressed by ecosystem services. The overall goal here is that this website provides a sort of different gateways to get to that information. So I'm looking to make sure that, I'm building support in my community for green infrastructure. If I went to getting, exploring understanding what is going on with green infrastructure, what it is, and sort of how it can affect my community. But the big thing that I'm going to do as a community member who's trying to build support for it, to try to build for it and create little descriptions, are really sort of we are ending sort of in these functions. And there is sort of a dotted line that separates the different functions. So recognizing that there is sort of overlap and there is gray area that divides them. We went through and tried to categorize and classify sources for what we provide. So in the beginning, it's actually cool. The sources are 4 tools that have been out there, developed organizations around the country and in some cases around the world that are achieving tools and resources communities to do. With the features, what we did is choose the best ones that we saw that try to achieve these goals. Any one of these, it's going to take a little description, so you can just glance at it and see what you're looking for. And essentially it takes you then out of that resource. Because this is a very rapidly changing and evolving and growing area of interest and sort of a community practice, we wanted to make sure that all of the organizations that are spending so much time and effort and really contributing are getting their tools out there. So that's why it's taking you out to these different resources directly. So you're getting a direct source. Likewise, if I am again the community member, if I go to planning, a couple different points at which I might be looking at these tools if I want to gather data to make sure that my members have the right data, and environmental code. I can look at that, and again, sort of a different but it's at the tool, what we mean, how these different organized, whether it's bottom up with field-based inventories, top down, and this is specifically obviously in the case of forest assets. And again, these 3 different tools that are really exemplary, and we want to, and that's not they're static, change over time. Just come over. That's another way to get to that. I know exactly what I'm looking for. Straight to the read section. Essentially, this is a filterable catalog of resources, as like about 130 to 150 that are in here, and that's not sure that there are that we need you to point to. I'm looking for, let's say I'm a center and I need to be able to provide a technical guide to someone else who I'm working with. I might go to these guides right one. And again, there's plenty more out, but this way to down, get direct tools. So these aren't curated in a stepwise functional kind of organization scheme. As Larry said, this is not exhaustive, and it takes it. And there's a lot of contributors, but I'm sure we've lost them. We've lost them where we have made. You go down here, we have a contact. So if there are that you here as you're through this guide, use this now. So if you have resources to suggest, we have a little in the footer in for us, and we can. Otherwise, if you have recommendations about how we improve the functionality of the, or if you think about how how we make it a little bit for use, please send that. The idea is that this toolbox, this toolkit, is a way of trying to capture and organize all of that are being developed out to achieve different ends. And as those change and as the tools and resources grow, the idea is that this site will be able to grow with it. So that's the very basics of navigate through it. We need to explore what and feel free to pass it along and share other colleagues. The idea, again, is a for the whole community. All right, back over to me. All right, there you go.
Thank you so much, Courtney. So that was a brief overview of how GIFT came to be and how you can use GIFT community or region. We'll open it up now for questions. Just a reminder, you have two ways you can submit questions. You can either raise your hand. There's a little hand icon, and we can unmute you if you'd like to ask your question over the phone, or you can type your question in the questions chat box, and we'll respond to it that way. So we'll pause now and see if there's any questions.
Well, I'm sure that all of you participating in the call will ultimately have some questions. It would be a great service if you could on your own take a tour of the site, work through it, and see how it feels to you. See how it would fit into the kind of work that you're doing, and with the work that others in your community or in your professional circles might be doing. And then get back to us. One of the people on the slide you're looking at now would be happy to help. There is, by the way, a question. Yeah.
Absolutely. The question is, and it looks like it's coming from Rebecca Turner, so I can unmute you if you'd like to ask it yourself. You are now unmuted, Rebecca. No. Well, I can read the question then for everyone. Is there a way for folks or organizations to add info to the site, resources, links, etc.?
The answer to that question is yes. We view this as a continuously upgradable product that can serve many different organizations and information needs. In point of fact, we're already talking with some organizations who are interested in creating a partnership that would allow them to organize their information in ways that it could be accessed through GIFT. So yes, Rebecca, that is something that we're actively pursuing.
And in the meantime, until we get to that point, using that link on the footer, the contact us, you can send them to us and we can add them directly. But right now, that user interface isn't in place yet.
I will say there's a whole lot of American forest information already in the database. Always got room for more.
Absolutely true. Great. Any other questions?
All right. Well, on behalf of the village and the team, let me thank you for your time and attention. We appreciate it, and we would appreciate it even more if you could take a few moments and take a tour of the site and give us your feedback, good, bad, indifferent, and if you have any additional resources that we've missed, send them on.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.